Buyers don't need a real estate agent. Is that something that you subscribe to? Is that a way of thinking that you subscribe to? You don't need a real estate agent to buy a house. That you could just basically go up to a house and say, hey, you know what? I want to purchase this house right here on the bottom left-hand corner of my screen. This is the house I want. And so you say, okay, I'm going to do this. But do you know the steps to take? Do you know the offers that need to be put out there? Do you know what contract to fill out? Do you know who to call? Maybe there is a number on the sign outside. Call this number. But is this person you're speaking with benefiting you, working on your behalf? Do they have your best interest in mind? Do they? Well, that's what we're going to talk about here in this video as to why you need a buyer's agent to help you in your real estate transaction. How's it going? My name is Luis Torres. I'm a real estate broker here with eXp Realty in the Chicagoland area. I help buyers buy houses and I help sellers sell houses, basically. Now here in the state of Illinois, I'm a licensed real estate broker. I have been for several years, and I have seen the ups and downs, the benefits, and the pros and cons of working with buyers and sellers as well. And I've seen pitfalls that, a lot of times folks don't have to get into because they just didn't heed the advice of a buyer's agent. Now I know that recently, the past several months, buyer's agents and real estate agents as a whole have taken a lot of flack because of the NAR lawsuit and the settlement that has come from it. And so that has been in the news recently and lately, and the mainstream is just given the feel basically that buyer's agents are not necessary. Of course, no one disagrees or disputes the fact that sellers working with listing agents are doing the right thing. Listing agents are important because of all the work that is involved in selling a house. But what about buyer's agents? Are they only here to open a door and show you what the color of the wall is? Are buyer's agents only there to open the door and let you in? Are buyer's agents here to just tell you how pretty the house looks? Or is there more to it than that? Now, yes, granted, I am a real estate broker and I do work with buyers. Mostly though, in my business, I work with sellers most of the time. But at the same time, I know that buyers are sellers and sellers are buyers, right? That's how it works here in the industry. But if you only knew all of the knowledge that goes into a transaction, all the wisdom, all the experience, all of the knowledge and the know-how of what can go wrong and how to guide others, that's the best way that you can tell and appreciate a buyer's agent. You see, a lot of times folks take for granted, all the things and all the work that goes on to doing something when it is just so smooth. For example, you've never flown a plane, but every time you get into an airplane and you fly somewhere, it's smooth sailing, right? And you take off and you land and you start to think, well, how difficult would it be really to fly an airplane? I mean, it seems so easy, it seems so smooth, and it's just so fine. Well, go ahead and try to fly an airplane, right? All of the knowledge, all the technical know-how, all the things that need to be done, all the inspections, all the precision and the specifications that go into the parts of the airplane, you don't know anything about it. Yet, it still comes together. There are folks out there that are in the space of building an airplane, of inspecting the airplane, of operating the airplane, checking the airplane, and making sure that everything is smooth. So that all you have to do as a consumer is just buy the ticket, sit down, and arrive. That's it. Same applies for someone that, let's say, operates a vehicle. For someone that operates a vehicle, hey, I mean, the inspection is not rigorous, it's not long, but at the same time, you probably have some kids in the back seat and they're thinking, hey, this person, my mom and dad, know how to operate the vehicle, fine. What's the problem? I can do it myself, they say, right? Let me take the wheel. And so they don't, but if they were to do so, they would crash all over the place, right? Because they just don't know. So in the same way, yes, buyers can go about the transaction of buying a home without a realtor, but it's basically like as if you were going on a safari, going out to explore. There are folks that say, you know what, I want to explore the jungle. I want to go out there and I want to see the lions. I want to see the elephants. I want to see the leopards. And so without a guide to take you out there in their protected vehicle, in their set apart paths, and without the guidance of a tour guide, you could say, then what will happen? You will go out into the jungle, into the trees, into the fields, and say, hey, look, over there, there is a lion right there. Yeah, that lion is right. Oh, I'm going to get close. Should I get close? I don't know. Maybe I should try it, right? And so you get up close to the lion and you try to pet it. Should I pet it? I don't know. I've never done this before. I think my gut tells me that I should pet this lion. Look at his sharp teeth. Let me open his mouth and look at the sharp teeth. Ooh, you see what I'm saying? But if that person who went on a safari and wanted to explore nature, they took a guide. That's what a guide is for. You would pay good money for a guide because it's not just a guide driving you from A to B. The guide is there to give you insights about what you're observing, give you understanding, wisdom, etc., and also experience. And they'll be able to tell you, hey, don't touch that lion. Don't pet the lion. Don't touch its teeth, right? Because you're going to be the lion's next course in a meal. You don't want to do that, right? So that's the value of having a guide. So in the same way here, with real estate transactions, buyers are out there. And if we're not careful, all right, if you as a buyer or potential buyer are not careful and you get into the market on your own, you might be not going against lions, but let me tell you something. There is something called caveat emptor, which was an old school way of saying, and of course this was done in the past, where buyers did not have any representation whatsoever, right? A real estate agent would work with a seller to put the sign outside and put their house for sale. And what would happen is you, as a buyer, called the sign outside and that you would have to negotiate with them. Hey, how many beds does it have? What's the price? Blah, 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 right? And the listing agent would have to say, you know what? Hey, I represent the seller and this and that, right? They'll start to conversate about the transaction and whatnot, okay? But it's basically everyone against the buyer. All these different parties, even the agency itself. See, even though in the for sale sign, you see it outside with one individual's face on the sign perhaps, or a name out there. But that's not the entire representation. You see, a seller who signs an exclusive right to sell listing agreement, especially here in the state of Illinois, it's not just the individual, it's the entire brokerage that is working on behalf of this client. So as you, a person that's going to go out and venture on your own into the safari of the real estate transaction world, you're going to go with one individual versus a whole brokerage representing the seller and the seller's best interest. That's what happens. And so that's what's going on there. So you don't want to be like that person that goes onto a wild safari trying to discover, hey, what else is going on? And I want to, see it for myself and learn my lessons. Why would you want to learn a lesson? This is going to cost you maybe tens of thousands of dollars just because you chose not to pay whatever rate that you are going to pay. So what I did here this past week, I accumulated, different notes here and there throughout the week of different sources of news, different sources of information, either from realtors, news articles, mainstream news, and just try to, bring up together these points that they made and talk about why you really do need a real estate agent to help you in your next transaction. I believe it, folks out here don't really understand and see a need for buyer's agents until you start to feel that turbulence. And just like the airplane analogy that I used just a little bit ago, once you are flying that airplane on your own and you start to kind of get out of control, you start to go down, right? Start to decline and you start panicking, buzzers all going around. That's when you say, you know what? I really need a pilot. Please bring a pilot up here. Don't worry, I got you. Luis Torres, a real estate broker here in the Chicagoland area, will teach you about why you need a real estate agent to help you. Now, that's a huge introduction. I didn't mean to go on that long. However, I think it's important for you to understand where I'm coming from here. Now, here in the top right, in fact, let me see if I can do this. I won't do it today. But up here, you can see on the top right, left hand, I'm a lefty, so sometimes things are reversed for me. But here in the top left, you'll see some of my notes that I took here in my Samsung Notes app. And then down here, right here, you're going to see on the bottom left hand, we will have the Zenlist app open just to give you an idea of what homes are coming on the market at the moment, okay? Now, I'm not giving out any addresses or anything like that, not purposely, but these are homes that have come on the market. I just want to keep you updated about what's happening here in the real estate market, even while I'm recording this, because of course, we all know that real estate is always live, always active. And so, hey, even right now, while I'm recording this, there are new homes coming on the market, okay? So this one was posted just a little bit ago, and it was, it's over here. Let's see some photos of the inside. It looks great in here. So I just wanted to show you what's going on here with this property. It's going for, what is it, 509,900, okay? So if you're interested in that, reach out to me again, 630-777-4597. This is the final week of April 2024, and so even if you see this video sometime in the future, still, if you are interested in buying or selling a home anywhere in the Chicagoland area, reach out to me and I would love to give you a comparative market analysis, an analysis also of your neighborhood, of your city if you prefer, and we'll talk about what your next move is going to be. But without further ado, the reason I made this video and brought it with urgency is because I want to teach you about why a buyer's agent is important for your real estate needs. All right, so here we go. Point number one is you look here on the top left-hand corner on my notes, and pardon me with the sound in the background. I don't have much time to record this. I'm a very busy man, and I'm a family man, and so you know what? All of the fancy editing that others have, I don't have time for that. So I'm just gonna go at it, and we'll go without editing. So hopefully it comes out right. Number one, buyers don't have all the knowledge that is needed in a real estate transaction. I don't have the book here with me, but if I did have a book to show you, it was this thick, a book this thick, pre-licensing course, chapters after chapters after chapters, talking about contract law, talking about how to do a comparative market analysis, what are the different types of just, facts and information that you have to take in to consider when you are analyzing the property. What is, the way that we measure properties, what kind of properties are there, what kind of title you're going to be taking, etc., 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 real estate math, all these things we have studied so that we will be able to transact and get a license. See, buyers who go about doing a transaction, you're basically going to be putting on yourself another job, another full-time job, at least for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months. Do you really have the time and the knowledge that you need for you to continue on with this? Maybe you don't. Maybe you do, right? Maybe you are someone that is having already a full-time job and you don't mind having an extra job, I call it a job, to, go out there and look for homes, ask questions, find documents, fill out the documents, go out and negotiate, get out there in front of the agent who's listing the home and try to negotiate some deals, find yourself a, competent and knowledgeable attorney who has a good reputation, let's say. Find yourself a building inspector, right, for the property. Going to find yourself, all these things have to do with getting a property done. It's a full-time job, even if it is for just several weeks, but still it is a job nonetheless. But buyers don't have all the knowledge needed to do this. I've heard from a reputable real estate agent who had over 20 years of experience say that they still have folks that show up to their law firm who, obviously the real estate attorney who goes up to the law firm, and they have buyers legitimately asking them, hey, I like this property, and I want to buy this home. Can we close tomorrow? Can we close, whatever date? See, buyers don't understand the home buying process. And so why would they, right? It's an average, it says about 11 years someone purchases a house. So of course, someone that does one thing for every 11 years is not going to be needing to know this backwards and forwards. Why would they have to study something they don't do, right? But when it does come time to purchase, because of your lack of knowledge in this, you might be paying dearly for that. And so we don't want you. Why don't you defer to those who are doing this on a daily basis? And because we do this on a daily basis, yes, we are all the time accumulating knowledge, accumulating experiences, knowing folks in the industry who we know work hard, work reliably, work well, etc. Instead of you having to start from scratch, starting from zero, you have to go through a whole learning curve. Why not just entrust your business or your buying of a property to and in the hands of someone who already has this learning curve done, and not only has the learning curve done, but has set up systems where you can facilitate all this. You see, the reason why it's so smooth and so easy looking is because us buyer's agents have already put in the work, have already set up and developed systems to help facilitate this whole process. You don't know where are the forms? Where would you find a contract to purchase? Where would you go to find, and what website? Sometimes listing agents have websites that are different that you would have to go and apply. You would have to go behind a paywall to find this and get access to these things. Where would you find it? And even if you went to, let's say, Office Depot to purchase some, templates to write an offer, you still don't have all the necessary things. Maybe a listing agent prefers or requires a certain contract to be written for that purchase. You don't know where it's at. You don't know how to find it. And if the listing agent doesn't want to give you that information or is too busy or already has multiple offers, how in the world will you as a lone buyer be able to get your offer on the table? See, a lot of times buyers who are not represented and don't have a lot of knowledge about this believe that just having a property address, an agreement, a purchase price, and a date to close are the main things that you need. Hey, just go to the real estate office and you say, you know what? I want to do this. Here you go. That's enough for you to close the deal. I can assure you, there's many more things that need to be done in order for you to purchase this property and come across as someone that, hey, is reliable. You say, what do you mean reliable? A while back, I don't know if you recall some of my previous videos, I actually did an analogy as well. I don't know if you want to see me as the realtor that brings analogies, but I love teaching this stuff. But I do recall that speaking of airplanes, right? Excuse me. When let's say that you're a skydiver, right? You jump out of a plane and you have a parachute on. Well, a listing agent, a seller, in a sense, they are like those folks that are about to jump out of a plane. And buyers, in a sense, are like that parachute. So hopefully, they're in that plane. They have to jump, right? Otherwise, they're just going to cancel the contract and not sell the property. And that's that. Like, who gets fun in that, right? So, or even if you want to be more violent, let's say that this airplane that you're selling a home, you have a certain specific termination date, right? If you don't sell it, the whole deal crashes and burns. So in this case, the airplane is going to crash and burn if you don't jump. So all this time, the person that's about to jump is frantically, looking for a parachute. And finally, hey, thank goodness we get a call, an offer came in or another offer. Now we have multiple offers. Great, that's awesome. So now the listing agent, AKA, right, the person that's going to jump from the airplane in our analogy right now, says, okay, great. Now my next thing is that because I only have one opportunity to jump and I can only carry one parachute at a time, I need to make sure that either A, B, C, or D, one of these parachutes are going to be reliable. Which one is it? Which is the best, highest and best parachute for me to jump with? Okay, so I'm going to select this one, right? So when you select that one, I'm not going to point that out. You basically are entrusting that this parachute is going to take me to safety. I'm going to jump with it on, right? I'm going to jump with it on. I'm going to jump and make sure that I make it down. So that's what happens when a listing agent is choosing an offer to take with them, right? They're entrusting that this offer is going to be able to carry them through. And that's what happens, right? But again, they have to see and be confident that the buyer is represented well and has a good team behind them, such as an attorney who can work quickly and well, a lender that can work quickly and well as well, and just the competency. And, there are folks who cringe that have to work with a buyer that has a bad reputation, let's say. So let's just make sure. All right, this video has been going on for almost 17 minutes and I barely got through point number 1. So again, I have a lot to say about this, right? And there's a lot of things that need to be done, but let me go ahead and go to the next point here. Why you need a real estate agent. All right, we're going to skip that one. All right. So why you need an agent? Sellers always had the option of not paying. So right here, we're just talking about the NAR lawsuit. This is one note that I took here. Sellers always had the option of not paying. Yes, I get it. In the day and age of the NAR lawsuit, and folks, even on YouTube, putting up thumbnails and clickbait saying, "Hey, the real estate's never going to be the same anymore." Blah blah blah. Look, the fact of the matter is that sellers always had the option of not paying. That's what is called a for sale by owner, right? They've always been around. Folks that don't want to pay a commission, they just want to try to do it themselves. Hey, they put a sign outside that says for sale by owner. And then they hopefully, they cross their fingers and hope that somebody driving by their house will see their sign and give them a call. They'll go ahead and make the, let's say, the showing happen, and they'll entertain offers, right? And then they don't have to pay an agent. But I myself have done this before as well. When we call, if someone is interested in a for sale by owner listing that they found on Zillow or another website, we ask them, hey, are you going to pay a buyer's agent this fee? Right? The fee for service, which might be 2.5%. It could be 3%. It could be 10%. Who knows? It's negotiable. And sometimes they say yes and sometimes they say no. And if they say no, then we go back to our client and say, hey, okay, we have an agreement that you will pay X amount of the purchase price. This seller is not going to pay that amount. Okay. So at the end of the day, of course, you can always, check out this property and pay it. But according to our agreement, you're going to have to pay this at closing. Okay. Just making sure that you're aware of this. That's all we're going to do. And so many times, almost always, the buyer says, if they're not paying, I don't want to see that house, right? So it's a problem. It's a risk that an individual has to consider. So yeah, this has always been an option. It's this thing about that the standard 6% rate. It's not even a standard. It's optional. But there are some places that do have that. It's not the case, right? There's always been an option for sellers to go ahead and put it out there, right? That I'm just gonna not pay an agent and that's that. But there are the vast majority, about 90%, 80 to 90% of folks that do sell their house choose to sell their house via a real estate, brokerage on the MLS, the multiple listing services. That's their prerogative, and that's what they choose to do, right? And by using the services of a real estate agent, there's a cooperation that occurs, and that's a very, very effective way of getting, your home sold. So that's what we're saying here up in the top. The vast majority of sellers choose to market on the MLS. Okay, so we see this other property here available. This actually is contingent now. So looking here at homes, this is the hot sheet. Okay, these are homes that have been marketed here on the multiple listing services in this particular area, and I just want to make you aware of that. Okay, back to my notes. All right, so that's what's going to happen. And really, coming from a real estate agent, a real estate attorney perspective, a person that is not represented by a buyer's agent, they will still have to pay what is called, and sometimes, right, some firms are different, but this particular firm of whom I was, getting these answers from, they do have an unrepresented fee, right? So you say, well, okay, I don't need a broker, I don't need a real estate agent, so I will just go work with the attorney. But even the attorneys themselves said that the attorney work in a real estate transaction is one thing, but the real estate agent work is another different animal, right? And so that's what we have going on here. You say, well, an attorney can just handle it all for me. But no, a real estate attorney is not going to be available for you at all times of the day, right? And a real estate attorney usually has office hours from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. It's very difficult to find them in the weekends, right? A real estate attorney is not going to listen to you complain or to vent or to, tell me about your beautiful day. No, they're not. They're not there for that. They're here for A, B, C, let's go, and that's it. A real estate attorney is not going to find properties for you. A real estate attorney is not going to meet you at the property and show you and listen to everything that you got going on. Real estate attorney is not going to give you all this type of advice. Their line of work is basically, again, to look through the contract to make sure that the offer is in the best interest of the client so that you can get the best deal out here. If this is something that's not working for you, they will cancel the contract because, again, they want to make sure that you as a client is represented correctly and well, right? That you're coming out in an advantageous position. But at the same time, they also order title. They do a title search. They, negotiate with the other side about repairs and whatnot. And so that's what's going on behind the scenes. And then they go ahead and they show you the closing disclosure. And they do many, many more things. This video is not about that. But again, if you go to be unrepresented and not have a buyer's agent, you're going to find yourself hard pressed, to find all this complete service and tailor-made service. A smooth transaction is going to be anything but smooth because you're going to be having to find the properties for yourself and call all these listing agents and get all this information, right? Listen, there's only so much information that is public about the property. There's other things that need to be disclosed and understood by the buyer. If you're not represented by a buyer agent, you're going to be, just not having that information available to you. Okay, so let me go here to the next note. It says here, lawyer of real estate doesn't want to go without buyer agent because no time. So, real estate attorneys also have the preference, someone that is represented by a buyer's agent is more, again, smooth transaction. It's been said, buyers who represent themselves, they've regretted it because all of the work that is involved in the transaction, okay? That is what has been said. Because again, you're adding another job, you're researching properties, you're researching lenders, you're researching all the vendors that are out there, finding the right lender that can do, that can do the job. You're scheduling, being an on-site for all this. And yeah, of course, you're scheduling showings here and there, you're scheduling inspections, you're scheduling survey, you're doing all this other work that, again, you wouldn't have to. And again, if you are having a full-time job and you find yourself, doing this kind of work, you're going to be hard-pressed to, find yourself with a comfortable lifestyle. Again, the burden, the heavy lifting is from the buyer's agent on your behalf. The reason why it seems so easy and so simple is because of all the work that is saved on your behalf. Okay? We use vehicles to drive back and forth, and now we take it for granted. We take airplane pilots and flying an airplane, the technicality and the intelligence to fly an airplane for granted because it's so smooth. We take even vehicles for granted, right? And the distances for granted. But imagine if you had to go walk, 5 blocks to go to the grocery store. Now you would appreciate a vehicle, right? Have it taken away from you, you will appreciate what you have. Try to go into the grocery store, go to work in the middle of a thunderstorm, right? Or very cold weather. Of course, now you're going to appreciate having a vehicle. Now you're going to appreciate having a competent airplane pilot, right? When there's turbulence. Because now things have gone bad. Now you're going to appreciate having a good safari guide to help you when that lion is looking at you, licking its lips, gonna have you for dinner, right? Now you see it. So, unless folks realize that not having an agent and having an agent taken away from the picture, they're gonna have to fend for themselves. See, that was the issue back in the day. See, I don't know if the general public understands this, but there was a time, yes, when there were no buyer agents. Like I said in the beginning of the video, there was a time when it was just listing agents, aka seller agents, right? Who only were representing the seller, and the buyer would come in and they would negotiate, right? Or they would try to negotiate, but everyone in their sales experience and their sales wisdom, etc., right? And the licensure. Listen, I mean, even someone who has a license in a trade, by nature, by just the fact that they have a license, shows that they have more understanding, more competence, more advantage in that particular field because of their position. And so if you're going to be a lone buyer who hasn't done this in 11 years, going to go up against someone who does this every single day with a license, of course, that's going to be a position where a buyer is going to end up being outmatched, right? A heavyweight versus a lightweight, you can say. And that's what's going to happen here. If we're going to go back, like many have said, to the Wild West again. And that's why having a buyer's agent is important for you, okay? So if you find yourself straddling the fence, should I get a buyer's agent or should I not? I'm telling you right now, a buyer agent can definitely help you, not just in pointing out the homes, but also pointing out the homes in your particular preference, right? If you need a home that needs this XYZ, they will be able to find that out for you. Now, yes, we have gone through the training, but we also have access to resources that the general public doesn't have. We also have access to resources behind a paid firewall, right? And behind a firewall that requires licensure to get into, right? We have all of this access and these tools that we can, again, facilitate this. You want to go fix a car? You say my car is broken. It has like a weird noise coming from. Okay. You want to go ahead, go into the garage, bring out your tools and see if you can fix this. We say, I can't fix it, right? I don't have enough tools. I don't have the sufficient tools for the job. I don't have this. Well, this is why you need a mechanic, right? You don't need something until you don't have it. And when you don't have it, you realize how much you need it, right? And you would pay a premium price for this because it's going to save you time and money. And so buyer agents do the same thing for the in the real estate world for buyers. So you bring that car that's broken into a mechanic shop where they have already established a facility that is made for this, right? They have their tools on the shelf in their toolboxes. They have a lift for the vehicle so they can easily access this, right? Anybody can buy a lift, but it costs a lot of money. The average Joe out there is not going to pay and invest thousands of dollars to buy a vehicle lift, thousands of dollars to buy all these tools and precision tools and air tools for fixing the car. Of course not, right? Why would they do it if they just got to fix one thing? But they go to a mechanic who does this for a living all the time, who also, because they do this all the time, they're very, very good at what they do, extremely good at, fixing starters, repairing motors, transmissions, everything. They go to these specialists to get the work done, and they have to pay for this service because, again, it is very valuable. That's the reason why we're talking about buyer agents here are experienced enough to bring to the table those whom they have vetted and those who they know are reliable. That's what a buyer agent does. If you want to do this by yourself, you're going to fall into many pitfalls. Who do you send the contract to? You send it to the bank? Do you send it to, the real estate company? Where's the address at, right? Of course, you can go on Google and search for this out, but you can find the address. But what if you send it to the wrong address? What if you send it to the office in some other state, let's say, right? What about that? And you're going to waste valuable time, and before you know it, because of the competition that exists in the world with that particular property, right? You're going to be competing with 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 offers. Who knows? Because, again, you were not aware. You're not working with a professional who can tell you that this is a seller's market and there are multiple offers on the table. You're going to be lollygag and say, well, it's okay. I love this property. I'm going to pay good money for this property. Let me see. And then they start to write dearest XYZ, right? Not knowing that you could be in violation of fair housing laws, by writing certain things in that a buyer love letter, let's say, right? Or whatever the case. These things happen. Therefore, having a competent, understanding, and active real estate agent, buyer's agent can help you in mitigating the risks involved in this, okay? And yes, of course, there are lots of things that can get to this. Let me just go through a few more of these so I can wrap up this video. I don't want to take too long here. I know that I can go on and on and on about this because, again, as real estate agents, we are knowledgeable agents and we can help you with this. Any person out there wouldn't have this kind of understanding, and we get it, We go to doctors because doctors are competent in that area. We go to mechanics because they're competent in the area. We fly in airplanes that are flown by competent folks that have their licenses and everything else, right? You can do that by yourself, right? But you don't, because you want the best result possible. Buyer agents that go by themselves risk making incorrect assumptions and omitting property, that might be thinking. They might think that this comes with it, and at the end of the day, because they didn't fill out the contract correctly, might end up losing that property, right? What about canceling a contract? Do you know how to cancel a contract? Do you do it without? How can you get your deposit back, right? Did you even send an earnest money deposit? Did you do it in sufficient amount of time? What is an earnest money deposit? Maybe I just sent $100, right? Is that enough? And now you're again in the territory of, hey, I need a buyer's agent to help me with this. This is an opinion. They say that 80% of buyers think all that they need is an address, agreement, price, and closing date. Buyers are oblivious to what the closing timeline looks like. They say, can we close tomorrow? Are they overpaying or underpaying for the property? That's another thing too, that again, having a competent real estate agent will help you to determine whether the price that they're offering to pay for the house is, just right. It'll appraise, or if they're offering too much money, right, for the property, or if they're offering too little for the property, right? They need to know this. And so this is another thing that a buyer agent will be able to help them out with. So in a nutshell, here in the 30 minutes that we had, I went over some of the reasons why you would need a buyer's agent to help you when your real estate transactions. There's many more things that we can talk about here. So if you want to have that conversation, give me a call here at 630-777-4597. Again, this is Luis Torres. I'm a real estate broker here in the Chicagoland area. If you're looking to, buy a house, or want to see what the market is looking like, obviously subscribe to the channel, as every single month I go through the real estate statistics here in the area and not only give you the numbers, but also show you what that means and give you a picture of what the market looks like. And today, like I said, I spoke about the importance of a buyer's agent. And if you find yourself looking to maybe sell a house anytime soon, reach out to me here and I will give you all the information you need so that you can make an important, competent, knowledgeable decision. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe. You know what to do. And yes, if you have any other questions, reach out to me. You know where to find me. So with that said, have yourself a successful week.